So going back actually 23 years ago, you have to be quiet on the set. They'll pick it up.
Okay, go ahead. You can say it.
There you go. Now you can play all you want. No, it's good. Sorry.
So between you and I, so talk about the beginnings. What happened in the beginning with you?
Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
How'd you get into this?
So once upon a time, I'm just kidding. Hang on, I got to get into that mindset of going back in that aspect of it. 23 years ago. So I don't want to start this. Coming. It's coming. I know where I'm going. And just so it was about 24 years ago. I started noticing my first son, Manny, showing certain developmental things that were not right, but I couldn't really identify what they were. I just had a hunch. There was just something within me that just kept nagging that things weren't right. And I kept asking my pediatrician, and my pediatrician said, no, he's fine. He's a boy. Boys learn a little slower than girls. Just don't worry about it. Let a few months go by. That nagging feeling still came. I went back to him, and he's like, you're neurotic. He's fine. Manny was about a year at that point, a year and a half. And so kind of let a little bit time go by. We wanted to have another child. Since my pediatrician assured me, and actually not just twice, he assured me several times that things were okay with Manny, we decided to have another child. So the second child is born, and by then, Manny had then started showing way bigger developmental challenges. And at 3 years old, when Adrian was 3 months old, Manny got diagnosed with autism. But by then, his behaviors had shifted tremendously, like really, really bad, to the point that if I literally lost sight of him, he would be up on the roof. If I didn't hold his hand anywhere that we went, he would be off to the races. So I'd open up the door and he'd be going across the busy street, not even caring or noticing that there was even cars. He would be on top of counters. It was just a really unsafe child at that point. That needed constant attention, which then left Adrian, being a baby at 3 months old, not having much attention at all. So Adrian was always on my arms, in the car seat, trying to figure out what Manny needed. And so Adrian basically missed out a huge amount, actually all of his developmental stages, and started then showing developmental delays as well. So I started noticing that I needed to figure out what was going on with Adrian now, and started taking him to, he was about 2 years old at this point, took him to different doctors, and they would say, as soon as they found out that Manny had been labeled autistic, they would just label Adrian autistic or mentally retarded or different things like that. So it was quite a shock at that point, seeing both boys incredibly delayed and not really having a direction as to where to go. But within me, I knew that there was more. Like there's something within me that like, no. The doctors, because certain doctors said that I should really put Manny in a home and an institution and move on. And in my heart, in my soul, I just like no, there's gotta be a way to help this child. And so in trying to figure out what to do, Adrian was one of I knew that I wanted to help Manny, but Adrian really started bringing out the curiosity even more. So like the drive to there's gotta be a way, because sometimes Adrian could do things super great, and I could ask him to do certain things and he would be able to do them. And then other times it was like not even, like he wasn't even registering that he was here on this earth. Sometimes his speech would come in really clear, but most of the time you couldn't even understand any words. And he was already like, he was older. He was like, he should have some words, and there's none. But sometimes speech would come in, and I'm like, what is that about? So I got to the point that I, by the grace of God, I was able to find a program and a modality that's called neurological reorganization, which is going back and rewiring the brain, actually finishing developing the brain, the early centers of the brain that carry functions. So I'm just thinking I'm helping my kids, and doing everything that they needed to do, but in reality, I was, in doing all the movements that they needed to do, I started shifting myself. And I started seeing tremendous changes in them, and I started noticing subtle changes in me, because I wasn't even looking at me. I was just helping my kids, so I was like, oh, this is great. Look at all the changes that they're going through. But I didn't really look at myself until I started seeing more and more, and I'm like, this is amazing. But yet, there's another piece that all of a sudden, they would show certain behaviors that all of a sudden would make my whole emotional body just cringe and go like, oh my God, this is never going to end. Any little thing. It could have been something super simple, like I asked one of them to go brush their teeth, and they'd have like a 2-hour meltdown. But it could have been that, that day they were having a really, really bad day, and it was just a bad day. Yet emotionally, I internalized that. I'm like, this is just never going to end. So emotionally, so much charge came up. And I could really never be present because I was always worried about the past, and I was always worried about the future. And I would never be able to just focus on what was really happening here and there. So I learned to do different movements, and the modality of rewiring the emotions came in. And oh my gosh, that totally changed everything in my life, because then I could identify what emotion was really bothering me and rewire for that, which was phenomenal. Because as I was able to then identify what I really did not want to feel anymore and what I did want to feel, and then intentionally put that new belief, because really they're all beliefs that were holding me back and were keeping me still, it just completely shifted my whole life. And the more that I shifted myself, the more I could help them. And so that's a long story, but it literally is. The more that we work on ourselves, the more that we heal the facets of our life when we were kids that are not serving us, and rewire with emotions that we want to now take charge and insert. Anything is possible.
For people that have never been exposed to this, can you tell us how rewiring works?
So what a rewire is basically you're going to identify what emotion your system is being bothered by. And then you're going to intentionally insert an emotion that you want. So let's say that I'm really angry for a certain situation. I don't want to feel anger. I want to feel peace and calm for this particular situation. Can we rewind? Let's start again. I'm going down a rabbit hole. So what a rewire is basically taking the emotion that you have, identifying what emotion you have, figuring out where it stems in a belief that most of the time was given to us as a child, and then shifting it. So let's say that somebody cuts me off in the freeway, and that just makes me really upset. It's really not that somebody cut me off on the freeway. It really could be that it's like, come on, I'm not seen. Like you're not valuing me. That this is my space, and you just went right into that. So instead of that, it's like, I want to be seen, or I am valued. And it really starts with me being able to value myself first. So you could rewire for being able to be valued. So as I learned how to rewire, I learned how to rewire everything that triggered me. Every emotion that I had that was not serving me and that was stopping me, I would just rewire for it. And by doing that, I was able to then really be more present with the boys, be able to then see more of their needs and help them way, 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 way more. But it really came back to me. And in a way, it was not, I didn't do it purposely. It just, by default, by me trying to help my kids, I really noticed that the person that really got helped the most was me. And subsequently, then I could help them even further.
So let's, that was good. And we're going to use that. And let's also...
you have to chop a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah. Let's answer the same question from a technical standpoint.
Okay.
Like so when we say, what is a rewire? Don't talk about the results of it or
Okay. What a rewire is.
Talking about the science, the physical happen. What physically happens in your brain as a result
For the analytical test.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could start with you could even and make sure you include a discussion of what's happened in the past, how it originally got wired. Okay. So you could either talk about the rewire and this is how it happens, and by the way, this is what happened in the beginning, or you can start from the beginning and go chronologically, whatever.
Okay. One of the things that I learned is that we were given so many beliefs by the time we were 8 years old that if we got good beliefs, they show up in our life and support our life, because 95% of the day we are driven by our subconscious beliefs that are in automatic pilot. So if we have those good programs, our life kind of flows. But if we got programs that are not serving us, then we keep hitting this wall. And no matter how much we try to pass that wall, it's not going to happen, because that belief is not going to allow me to do that. So for example, if my mom, which this is totally what happened in my life, I was a very mischievous kid. I liked to see how things worked. So if we had a radio that wasn't working, guess where I was? I was taking it apart, and then my mom would come in, she'd see this huge mess, and she'd go like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what were you thinking? Where did you get in your mind to do that?" So that's a very simple reaction of a mom coming in and seeing this mess and going like, "Seriously?" But for a kid, it can register as, I'm not smart enough. I'm stupid. There's something wrong with me, because if I was smart, if there wasn't anything wrong with me, I wouldn't have thought of doing that. And my mom's reaction just inserted a belief of me not being enough, not being smart, and just such a simple thing. So then what a rewire does, it allows us to go in and take the left side and the right side of the brain, synchronize it. And when you synchronize both sides of the brain, it turns on something that's called super learning. And with super learning turned on, you can rewire any belief in literally minutes, because the subconscious is open and you're able to then insert whatever belief you want to. Anything else?
So
About neural pathways.
Yeah, how about neurons, neural pathways? How do those work? So it would be like, so a rewire happens in the brain like this, whatever, right? Is how it.
So when a rewire is being inserted, when you're, okay, hang on, so you can edit. So when you do a rewire, what actually happens in the brain is that it allows the brain to develop a brand new synapses. So you'll still have an old synapses that says that supports that belief of you not being good enough. But now that you have a brand new rewire, there is a brand new synapses that just got formed, and you're more likely to go into the new rewire, that new synapses. And the more that you go into that synapses, that brand new one, and we tend to go into the easier pathway. So if we keep using the new one, the old one fades away. But literally, they have shown that the brain in a rewired state allows this process to happen. Brand new synapses to reformed in minutes. It's wild.
Okay, good, good. Do you want to talk anything about the neurons and how the neurons are? Well, we don't need to really do that.
And how about for people that just don't know, defining what a synapse is and how it works?
Okay. How do I want to say that one?
Well, what we could do is we can go on to the next thing, and we can come back to the synapse.
Okay.
So talk about the neural path. Let's talk about your path. Let's talk about how many people you've worked with, and just some of the amazing changes. You could give like 2 or 3 examples of like your most like oh my gosh, yeah, profound shifts that you've seen.
Okay.
So I've worked with this many people, and from doctors to lawyers to housewives to family, whatever, the different types of people, and some of the most profound shifts that you've seen.
Okay. Like people-wise, I lost count after those 3,000, but it hasn't been all rewires. There are a lot of them, so I've worked with.
Worked with them. Yeah, I've worked with over 3,000 people. You just say that. I've worked with over 3,000 people, and
Or close to 5,000 probably, right?
yeah, and I've worked with everyone from this to this to
Okay.
this to this to this, and some of them you should see some of the shifts they're making. One person had this, one person had this, one person had this.
Okay. Okay. So I've had the pleasure and the absolute honor to have worked with, so I've had the absolute pleasure of working with over 3,000 people now. Actually, way over that. But some of the people that I've worked with is, it's like, not the butt. Don't put the butt in there.
So I've worked with people from all walks of life.
Yes. So I've had the absolute pleasure of working with over 3,000 people, and people from all walks of life. So I've worked with neurosurgeons, doctors, lawyers, housewives, basically anybody that was looking for a change, and actually a really dramatic and different change, because this is it's a simple concept, not an easy concept, but it's a very different concept than what I had seen in all the other therapies, because with everything that I learned with my kids, I learned so many other types of therapies, but these by far, in combination, gave me the biggest shift in my life. And so bringing that together and then seeing all these people shift has just been incredible. Which ones are the ones that, like, God, I should...
Talk about squatting. Let's talk about squatting.
Yes. Recently, one of my clients has been a lawyer that she's in charge of developing, like that? Recently, one of my clients that I've worked with is a lawyer. That she has about over 200 employees, and she was to do a speech. Every single time that she would do a speech, she would have, for several days before the speech, she would get sick to her stomach and actually vomiting. And when she was in front doing a speech, she would be crying. She would be incredibly nauseated. She couldn't really get her words out. And then for the next 2 days, it'd take about 2 days for her to recover after the speech. So I worked with her, and we did about 7 sessions. and she was able to go on stage and do her speech. It was a keynote speech that she was asked to do. And she texted me back at 10 o'clock at night saying, like, I don't know what you guys did, but I nailed the speech. And not only did fantastic, she inspired people. She got several offers to be on panels, asked to be on radio stations. So the shift in her ability to be able to go and do that was incredibly astronomical in so many ways. And so it's just really, I don't ever get tired of hearing all the shifts that happen with such simple movements and such a simple modality.
Right. Good. Do you have any others that might be, that come to mind that were like?
Yes.
Okay.
I
I have another client.
Yes. I have another client that she has been stuck for quite a while, and she was a stay-at-home mom, but has been trying to figure out what's the next step to do. So as we started working with her kids and her family, all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, this is not about my kids. It's not about my family. What she really wanted to do is start to write. And so this client, when she finally did enough of the rewires to get herself back on track, getting back to figure out what gave her joy, writing gave her joy. And she literally sat and within 3 days wrote a book. And now it's in the editing processes. Which before it was like years that she's like, I want to write this, and she'd never be able to do it. She was never there. And just at a certain point when she shifted enough perspective about her life and about her beliefs, she's like, oh, I could so do this. And literally is now contacting the editor. So, yeah, the publisher. So, sorry, yeah, editor, publisher.
Well,
actually, she's proofreading, whatever that is. But anyway, that's it. That's like, you know.
Do you have another client that might be a good testimonial too, like a good story?
Which one, Danny? Which one comes up to mind? I have so many.
Did you even talk about Reshma and how her daughter and all that stuff?
Yeah, but that might be a little out there.
Stephanie.
Which part of it?
Was talking about how now she literally walks around. Oh, she already said that in her testimonial.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many. I'm like going.
Yvonne.
How about one of the
Laura.
husbands that wasn't even the target, but the family came in?
Yes. Okay. So, Pablo. One of my favorite stories lately has been this one that the family came in because they had two little girls that really needed help. They thought they really needed help, which our kids do need help, but we just don't look at ourselves. So we started working with the family, and after a certain amount of sessions, the girls were done with their session, but I was still working with the parents. And the little girls come out and they're like, okay, we're done, Dad, Mom. And the parents are like, hang on, we're not. And they had been so excited to see the shift in just the relationship, that they've actually started to really know how to support each other better in the relationship, instead of going like, well, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have done this. And so to see them just be able to see this family just be able to come together and be able to support each other, and know that the girls are doing an amazing job and not projecting what their fears are onto the girls. They're able to help them be better kids and just better people overall.
Was there a specific part where was there something about the father? Because we had asked you about the father, you meant about a male, and you mentioned Pablo. Is there something special about him that you saw shift that was?
Yes.
Remember everything in his life as he knew it?
Say it again.
Remember everything about his life as he knew it?
Oh, yes.
Thought he knew it all, yeah.
Yes. So this particular dad really thought that he had everything figured out. And he actually had alcohol in the past be a very big issue. But as he started working more on the rewires for himself and brain work also, he really noticed that, oh my gosh, the reality is that what he thought his life was not exactly how he was enjoying his new life. Because he really thought that his wife had all the problems, and the shift in his awareness was tremendous, because he was able to really be able to focus more on his issues, not his wife's issues.
Nice. So he did he discover he was more the problem than he was looking outside for all the results?
He discovered that a great deal of the shift had to come from him first.
He was the solution.
Yes, he discovered he was the solution.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. There's one more thing I want to do. I think we can wrap it up.
That was a great quote from Obama. Remember when
He
said,
discovered he was the solution.
no, he said, "We're the ones we've been waiting for."
Oh,
Yeah. And I sat in front of the TV and cried when he said that.
that's so true.
Yeah, we're the ones we've been waiting for.